So, we are standing with the Stradman Countach, which you saw us break down in on our trip last week through the Everglades over to Naples. And luckily, it was nothing major. It ended up just being a relay and a circuit on this board. It is a common issue with these cars. Maybe something that he could have tried to fix while on the road. I don't know about the board itself, but we will leave him with some relays and some fuses for his journey back to Utah. So we have probably another couple days of testing on this, and then we are ready for James to come to Miami and drive it. We are going to today show you guys one of the most complicated car deals we've ever put together, but it's something that's very exciting for us, and then we're gonna go on a test drive. First, let's show you just how this deal works out. As you can see, Gio's working on a Countach, Chris is finishing up the Stradman Countach, and let's talk about potentially what is the most complicated deal that we have ever done, and we have so many moving pieces to make it happen. Now, any given point, any of our guys, whether it's Steven, Nandina, Herschel, Gabe, we're always working 8, 10 deals at any given point, and you always have to think about every sort of possibility, every client's needs and wants. And at the end of the day, I sort of hate to think of us as a dealership. I like to think of us as just really a bunch of passionate guys that love the cars and would like to make a nice living at the same time. So the number one goal is to make our clients happy. And this is sort of how this deal started. So essentially about, I would say, almost 2 years ago, one of our very good clients asked us for an SLR 722 coupe. Now, if you know anything about SLR 722 coupes, you know they're incredibly, incredibly rare. Only 25 came to the US, and since then, there's only been about 3 or 4 cars that ever sold publicly. They have sold at auction, and we've seen very, very few cars ever on the market. So these are very rare, hard to find. I have been looking for 2 years, and I haven't been able to find anything. And remarkably, somehow, you'll see how this story goes, and we found an incredible car. Now, in that process, we're gonna put client number 1 here, who we will call Ricky for today's purposes. And Ricky's been a great client of ours. He's bought a few Diablos. He recently bought a Countach. Very excited for him as he grows his collection. And during sort of relationship building, I learned that Ricky owns some of the best muscle cars in the country, if not the world. And in that process, he sort of sent me a few photos of a few cars, and I had learned about a couple of cars in his collection. So what I had to sort of make mental note, because I'm a car guy, of what guys own and what they love. And in this process, we got a lead from a very, very good friend, Miles. He's a famous manager, Miles manager on Instagram. He is the manager for Kygo and a few other well-known artists for a Mach 1. And Miles asked me for a Mach 1 that basically was something, something restored or maybe a resto mod. And I told Miles, I have the perfect Mach 1 in the world for you. Unfortunately, it's not quite available yet, and he would have to be patient. And that belonged to Mr. Ricky. Now, when I first asked client number 1 about his Mach 1, he said he would never sell. He loved the car, and this went on for like 3 or 4 months. I even actually thought about it for myself at one point. It was a car that was built by the famous Roadster shop, and I'd learned a lot about what they do, and we'll show you guys that car later. It's just so special. But he basically told me he would never sell until we ended up purchasing one of the lowest mileage Diablo SVs left in the US today. 3,500 miles, titanium car. This was a car that was at Driving Emotions for a few years, famous dealership that we have a great relationship with in West Palm Beach. And this car is titanium on black, original graphics, absolutely stunning car, but unfortunately the car had been sitting for like 7-8 years. They didn't even want to start it, so it needed everything service-wise. Tires, major service, etc. But we decided to buy that car. We knew just how rare it was, and we knew at some point either one of our great collectors would keep it, or somebody we knew would want this car once it's serviced. So, client number 1 heard that we had purchased the car, and he had to have it. Now, in the meantime, he realized he didn't need that many Diablos. I think he's currently up to 3 Diablos. He has a beautiful 6.0. He has another 99 SV, but he really wanted to perfect his collection, and he felt like this SV was perfect for him. So what did we do? We made a deal where client number 1 would get said titanium Diablo SV in return to trade us his Diablo SV Monterey edition. So we're gonna put this as BS for Blue Skuro. So his Blue Skuro Monterey edition, which really was a spectacular car that we sold him a few years ago. It was Blue Skuro on bright yellow, a one-of-one car, and we knew at any point that we would have essentially some sort of home for this car. It could be inventory, but there'd be some sort of buyer. And the Mach 1, as part of that trade, would go to right over here to, let's see, I'll call this client number 2. And the Mach 1 would go to client number 2, and we would make essentially this client happy and this client happy. So 2 clients happy, and we are still not done yet. So in that process, we're always getting leads, people that are looking for cars. And one day Steven gets a call from our team that there was a gentleman out of the Midwest that was looking for a really, really great Diablo. He actually fell in love with the titanium Diablo SV. He fell in love with a few other Diablos we had. And what perfect timing. We had a one-of-one Diablo SV in Blue Skuro coming in. So, client number 3 will go here. We'll just call him number 3. We don't need to come up with a funny name for that. And this Diablo SV was basically promised, and we're gonna make these little marks here, to client number 3. Now, in the process of negotiating, client number 3 basically at one point says, you know, I might wanna trade a few cars. Are you guys interested in a McLaren SLR? And we're like, yeah, of course. What kind of SLR? He said, it is a 722 coupe. Ding, 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 ding. So, client number 3 has a beautiful 722 coupe, which upon sort of doing some research, we ran the Carfax, we Googled the VIN, and these are all things you should be doing when you're purchasing a car. We learned that this is a car that I used to chase years ago. I tried to buy this car from a big collector out of Palm Beach. It was part of an incredible collection, CLK GTR, FXX, some really, really great cars. So I knew the car, I knew it was a nice car, it came from great ownership history, and it was one of the few cars that had publicly sold through RM Sotheby's a few years ago. So, client number 3, we came up to a deal, and 100% the Diablo SV is going to client number 3, the Blue Skuro car, and then SLR 722 would come in as inventory, and then I realized that one of our great clients wanted an SLR 722 coupe. He's been asking for a few years for now. He's actually traveling for the summer, but I know he's gonna take the car, so client number 4 would end up with the SLR 722. Now, all of this had to happen at the perfect time. We had to make sure titles were ready, everything was ready, cars were ready, good tires, service, etc., to make all this happen. So our team did an incredible job, and I'm very, very proud because I think as of today, all of this is done. It is signed, sealed. Cars are here, cars are leaving. I think we're just waiting for the 722 coupe, but I'd love to give you guys an up-close personal look and a test drive in the Mustang. So we are standing with one-of-one Blue Skuro on yellow. That is not cream, that is not tan, that is Giallo original interior of the Monterey edition. This is one of 20 cars that were brought to the US. They were actually designed and spec'd by Vic Kalunian, who was the Lamborghini distributor, and these cars were all built at the factory. Then once they arrived to the US, the distributor Vic put these Kinesis wheels, these are magnesium chrome wheels that he put on the cars, and then the cars were sold. They did actually a very cool bull run, sort of famous in that period, and I think we've shown that before. So this is a one-of-one car. This is one of the cars. This came in. This will be going out. We're actually putting its original graphics back. And then, here she is, probably one of the lowest mileage Diablo SVs. And we are correcting the wing. At some point, someone put an incorrect wing on this car, so we're putting the factory original satin black wing back on this car, but you don't see an SV this nice. The original graphics are still installed. Look at this interior. It is a new car, so congratulations to client number 1. He'll be getting a stunning, stunning SV. He is not going to drive this car. It is original paint, original interior. This is going to be sort of a part of his non-driver collection. So anyways, now let's go take you for a test drive in something really special. I'm not a muscle car guy. We're not big, Hemi guys, Mopar guys, anything like that, Ford guys. But this car is just so damn special. This is as American as it gets. This is a Mustang Mach 1, and this is not just any Mach 1. This is a car that was reimagined, I would call it, by Roadster Shop, the famous builders. And look at this car. This is not the original 428 engine that would have come in this car. This is actually a GM LS7 that was made to look like the original engine that came in the Mach 1. This is so shocking. Like, when you first come up to this car, even one of our techs was like, there's no way that is an LS7. And you look at this, and what a feat that they've done. These are actually even fake shock towers, if you look, to make it still look original. And it's just so special. And what's so cool about these cars is they're very usable. This is all new technology, but in a original, basically, chassis and body. And that's what's so cool about the Roadster Shop Survivor Series. This is an original Mach 1. I believe this car is original paint, or mostly original paint, original interior with low miles, and then they've updated the AC, suspension, brakes, wheels, sound system, and pretty much everything to make it a perfect running, driving car. Let's go for a ride.
They are.
Yeah.
It is so much quieter than I thought it was gonna be. It's quiet. Oh, that's pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's
it's
all right.
not bad at all.
All right.
All right, let's go.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow, torque. A little bit of torque. So this is just as cool as it gets. Look at this. You've got the vintage hidden radio behind here. You've got incredible AC. This vintage air is just blowing ice cold. The gauges are even digital, and they actually are like this touch screen. And you've got a 1/4 mile setting here, which I don't know if you guys see that. 1/4 mile, 0 to 60. That is super fresh. And then this cool little feature here, the horn, is on the, it's like a little rubber. Wow.
Damn.
505 horsepower. And the suspension just feels so good. The brakes feel incredible. And there's something, I'm a Lamborghini guy, you guys know. There's something, though, I think that, any sort of gearhead you feel in these old 60s and 70s muscle cars. This was a period that was killed away by sort of Ralph Nader times of EPA and everything. And this was an era that probably was never, again, sort of produced until now, where you have these crazy horsepower wars of now that will slowly end again with the hybrid engines and electric drivetrains. But let's see what this car does. Wow! What a car! What a car! Brakes are incredible. This is a masculine car. This is a man's car. There is something about driving a fastback Mustang that you just feel like such a badass, and a V8, I should say.
She loves to spin the tires.
Just spins the tires. So good. And this interior's sort of been modified, so it's somewhat modern, somewhat vintage. Most of it's original, and then some of it has been updated. The back seats and things like that. The seats themselves have been updated. So it's just so freaking cool. I actually completely get why client number one never wanted to sell this car, and he literally only did it doing a favor, knowing it was going to one of my friends. So we didn't even actually make money on this. It was literally a pure favor, making another passionate guy happy. And that's sort of the cool part of doing this in this business, when you can make people... Thank you very much. Thank you. And that's the other thing about these cars. Everybody smiles when you see sort of any Shelby Mustang, Mach 1 Mustang. And this is just awesome. It's like
real good.
The best of all worlds. You could literally drive this car all day long. The LS7 engine is just it's probably morally wrong to put a GM engine in a Ford product, but it's so cool that the Roadster shop did this, and it just works perfectly.
So if you want a car like this, so if you want a car like this and you want Roadster Shop to do it to your Mach 1, this is a pretty expensive endeavor, right?
This is not something that's like 20, 30 grand. I believe these builds go from 200, 300, as much as $400,000, and maybe even more for some of these builds. This is not a cheap resto mod. This was done right, and you could just feel the difference. This is something you could drive all the time, enjoy, and still very collectible. This car does everything right, and it is so badass, I must say. I would love to keep this, I'm not even gonna lie. This is like the perfect, sort of perfect daily driver in a way.
Man. It's got a lot of style, it's cool.
A lot of class.
And just so that the people don't start in the comments, you are wearing your seatbelt?
I am wearing my seatbelt today.
It just doesn't have a...
This is actually probably one of the original lap belts. Let's see. Yeah.
Looks like it.
Oh, no, it was reproduced, but definitely the original style of lap belt that would have been used in these cars, especially after, I think it was 1967 or 66, when cars had to have a seat belt and different things like that, and this is so special. You could get in a lot of trouble with this car. I'm not even gonna lie. You could get in a lot of trouble with this.
But you also never have to do a 3-point turn again.
Never again.
Just give it a boot full of gas and you're gonna whip right around.
But I think this car sort of embodies what modern collectors want. They want that cool factor. They want something they can pull up that's so different in Cars and Coffee. But they want the usability. They want great AC. They want a nice radio with Bluetooth, and the ability to know that they're not going to break down. So definitely it's nice that this has fuel injection and updated electronics. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.